Hello, everyone, and welcome to this webinar called Israeli and Hungarian Technologies in Motorsport. It's my pleasure to be the host of this webinar, and I kindly welcome you if you're watching us live or later on this recorded version. My name is Zoltán Szujó. I spent 18 or 20 years in the motorsport, 18 years in the Formula One, and I'm just excited to talk about innovations, to talk about automotive industry, and of course, motorsports and car racing. Why today we are organizing this one? Because we have the 37th edition of the Hungarian Formula One Grand Prix this weekend, which is very important for us, Hungarian motorsport fans and enthusiasts. And that's why we organized this kind of webinar with our hosts. And thank you very much for the organizing the Startup Campus, the Hungarian Motorsport and Green Development Agency, a Green Mobility Development Agency, the Embassy of State of Israel, and the Israel Export Institute. So, as I mentioned, we will spend the next hour or so talking about innovative and new ideas in the automotive industry, in the motorsport, and in general. We have amazing guests here waiting just to take over the floor and introduce themselves, introduce their work in the field of technology, automotive industry, or even motorsport. And at the end of today's webinar, we will have two amazing racing drivers and a rider, the 2007 MotoGP world champion, who's a Hungarian, Gábor Talmácsi, will join us, and the top Israeli motorsport guy and racing driver, Roy Nissany, from the Formula 2 World Championships. This is just below the Formula 1, so there is a pyramid for the Formula category racing, and Roy Nissany from Israel racing in the Formula 2, so just before the Formula 1, even though he's got a lot of experience even in Formula 1, because he is the test driver of the Williams Formula 1 team. And I would like to introduce you, the ambassador of Yacov, Hadas Handelsman from Israel, and I would like to ask him to say us a few words during our webinar. So, Ambassador, the stage is yours virtually.
Thank you, Zoltán. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the SpeedUP Israeli and Hungarian Technologies and Ideas in Motorsports online event. I warmly welcome all of you representing stakeholders of the Hungarian and Israeli automotive industry and motorsport ecosystem. There's no doubt that Israel is a major player in the high-tech world. Our small country has populated the world's famous talents in high-tech. There are about 9,500 startups in Israel, and by and large, 600 of them are working on a technology that will drive the cars of tomorrow, if not today's. These gifted startups usually work in R&D centers that were founded in Israel by leading car manufacturers. Young Israelis and experienced engineers of prestigious car makers and parts suppliers are working together in shaping the future of automobile and motorsport. No need to pretend, because it is a fact that one of the visible results of my 5.5 years tenure as Israel's ambassador to Germany is that all German car manufacturers have opened their own R&D hubs in Israel. As the list of key OEM players from BMW to Daimler that have opened their doors in Israel would be too long, I would like to highlight only one example, with your permission. In 2017, Porsche SE established an innovation office in Israel. By setting up the office in Tel Aviv, the German sports car manufacturer aimed to guarantee access to technology trends and talents. As a first step, Porsche has invested an 8-figure sum in venture capital funds. Some days ago, it was announced that Porsche SE is investing again in Israel's Aurora Labs, which wants to turn cars into computers on wheels. the Israeli Aurora Labs company has developed a system that manages a vehicle software. It is an integrated solution with machine learning algorithms that can detect software behavior faults and even predict and hopefully prevent crash events. Furthermore, last year, ladies and gentlemen, Porsche expanded its startup portfolio to change the motorsport viewing experience and raising the perception of car racing to new dimensions. Porsche Ventures, the sports car manufacturer's venture capital division, has taken a minority stake in Grip. This Israeli startup has developed a cloud-based data platform that enables the transmission of motorsport data directly from the racing car and then both analyze and visualize it in the cloud. And I'm so happy that today we can host the founder and CEO of Grip, Mr. Tamir Plachinsky, who will tell us more about the technology developed by his company and his mission to make motorsports more accessible. And as I mentioned, Israel is a hub of present and future car technologies. But let us face it, it is not, or rather not yet, a superpower in motorsport. However, the public's recognition of motorsport is growing every day. And the most popular Israeli racing driver is Roy Nissany, who has many fans and friends also in Hungary. He started his racing career at the Kecskemét racetrack, and today he is competing in Formula 2 and works as a test driver in Formula 1. Now I'm looking forward to be watching his performance at the Hungaroring on this coming weekend, and I'm happy that he accepted our invitation and is taking part in a discussion with MotoGP World Champion Gabor Talmachi later today. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, yet importantly, I'm honored that within the framework of the ongoing cooperation between Israel and Hungary in the field of automotive, Professor László Palkovics, Hungarian Minister of Technology and Industry, who also serves as a co-chairman of the Israeli-Hungarian Joint Economic Commission, has agreed to broaden the bilateral economic cooperation also in the field of motorsport technologies. So before passing the virtual floor to the minister, I wish you or wish us all a fruitful and pleasant discussions. And on a personal note, you know, we should be very happy, all of us, because the issue that we are going to be discussing today and the issue that most of you are dealing with anyway, it's a wet dream of any child and even grown-up children, which is to, on the one hand, innovation, and on the other hand, cars or fast cars and racing. So, you know, what can be better than this? So on this happy note, Professor Palkovich's video is ready, and I wish you again welcome. Thank you for coming, and hopefully you will enjoy the event.
Dear participants, on behalf of the Ministry of Technology and Industry, I would like to welcome you digitally to Hungary on the SpeedUP webinar. It was delighted getting to know the idea of today's event. It is hoped that a dialogue will establish between Hungary and Israel in this matter, which will help us to develop further in the field of innovative technologies and motorsports. As we are living in the age of technological innovations, it is crucial to deal with the related areas, not only from the private market side, but at the public level as well. It is fair to say that Hungary is actively supporting the different innovation efforts in the field of technology, especially in connection with the automotive industry. The government must help all the stakeholders, let it be for-profit or non-profit companies or universities, to reach Europe's top tier in high added value industry in the coming years. Seeing the event's motorsport focus, I would like to highlight our country's automotive industry, which is already represented by 4 decisive manufacturing factories: Audi, Mercedes, Opel, and Suzuki. Our aspiration is well demonstrated by the arriving BMW factory, the construction works of which are currently taking place near the town of Debrecen. It is great pleasure for us that we can also provide state-of-the-art testing environment to different brands with the Zoltán Automotive Proving Ground, which is one of the most modern and unique facility in the world currently. To continue with motorsport, I would like to introduce HUMDA, the Hungarian Motorsport Green Mobility Development Agency, which was founded by the Ministry of Technology and Industry to perform the complex task of included in the Hungarian Motorsport Development Strategy, accepted by the government of Hungary, and to facilitate different tasks related to motorsport development, such as the support of the Hungarian Strategic Development Program and the professional supervision of the MotoGP circuit, where the delighted planning is in progress. HUMDA's R&D company, HUMDA's Lab Ltd, has been established for research and knowledge transfer, as well as for the development of technological research and innovation infrastructure. The company researches autonomous racing algorithms and supports engineering competitions and students' teams participating in them. HUMDA Lab is also developing race car drivetrains, synthetic fuels, race simulation algorithms, and autonomous driving kits. University education is a paramount importance of motor racing too. The automotive industry is undergoing a major transformation, with megatrends such as electrification, which increasingly affects the world of motorsports and autonomous driving. The engineers of future are needed in this field, who will attract global corporations that will set up the country. At Hungaroring, these engineers of future will have an opportunity to test their developments in practice. HUMDA Lab is also working on the specification of infrastructure development for research and development activities. The Motorsport Innovation and Development Science Park will be established next to the Hungaroring as the site of a technology and innovation park, which offices a vehicle test bench with the latest IT infrastructure and support the activities. The objective is to create a scientific and innovation park meeting the needs of the automotive industry in general and motorsport players. Focusing on the theme of the connection between man and machine, the facility should support training and product development, as well as research and innovation. We all know that Israel is a key player in the modern research, development and innovation projects. Therefore, I'm glad that such a webinar could come to life. I would like to thank Ambassador Mr. Yacov, Hadas, Handelsman for the opportunity and wish everyone a successful and interesting program. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jo. So you just heard the Minister of Technology and Industry of Hungary, Mr. László Palkovics, and before him, Ambassador Yacov Hadas Handelsman from Israel. Thank you very much for the opening words of this webinar or online conference. So this is a first and very important question. If we are talking about the automotive industry and about the car racing or motorsport, should motorsport necessarily be road related, road relevant? Because if you take a look closer, I mean, the automotive industry goes to the direction for the autonomous cars and equipment. So as the ambassador highlighted and mentioned, these are computers on four wheels. But at the same time, or in the other hand, on the racetracks, we would like to see gladiators who are fighting with the elements, with the rivals, even with their technology, their equipment. And we as fans would like to see gladiators who are making decisions and not the cars making decisions instead of the greatest drivers or riders in the world. So this is a very important moral or philosophical question, that should motorsport be necessary road relevant in the 21st century? And I really would like to have the opinion and to see the opinion our panelists today on this very topic. And you know, motorsport is a great marketing tool. We heard it for decades, that win on Sunday and sell on Monday. So if you can build a great race car, you can sell a car the day after the race on Monday of that type of car. So it was a great marketing tool. It is a great marketing tool, but the most important thing, what would we like to highlight, and for what we would like to use the motorsport as a marketing tool. So let me introduce our first panelists here today's webinar, who are the head of Autotech, Smart Mobility and Industry 4.0 sector from the Israel Export Institute, Karin Chen. And we have here the Director of Motorsport of the Hungarian Motorsport and Green Mobility Development Agency, Mr. Kornél Őri. So first of all, Karin, if you can hear us, could you give us a quick overview that how important is the automotive industry and the innovations in general for the Israeli economy? How many companies do you have in Israel are related and working in the automotive industry?
So thank you very much. My name is Karin Chen. I work at the Israel Export Institute at the sectors you've mentioned. Just to give a brief introduction, there is no local brand in Israel. There is no OEM and manufacturing company, but we are a leading industry. We have many companies with technologies in these sectors. The numbers in the recent years have talked about 500, even 600 active companies in different stages, which are active. Also had activities with foreign entities. I would say that around half of them, if not more, are really beyond the seed phase and are beyond R&D stage. I'm talking about companies which already have a product, and many of them already work abroad with many prominent names, whether it's the one, tier twos. I can say also an interesting fact is that the investment in Israeli companies has been in the level of around $1 billion per year, and we have seen an increase in that in the last 5-6 years or so. Some of the companies, and that is quite recent news, have gone and done the step of basically IPO, which is initial public offering, and SPAC. That is also becoming public other than the traditional way. I can say, as was mentioned before by some of the colleagues here, that really we've seen the word that the main trends are really electric mobility, autonomous mobility, and the connected vehicles. Basically, vehicle talking to vehicle, vehicle talking to the infrastructure. And these are also the main topics in which Israeli technologies, Israeli companies have the strength, have many good technologies to offer. Basically, the Israeli thinking of the ecosystem is thinking out of the box and seeing what are the necessities in the world, what needs to be solved, and sometimes even offering their very innovative technologies which can be applied to any problem that will arise. So we've mentioned, for example, electric vehicle is a topic that is being talked about a lot recently, especially because of the climate change, etc. So we have everything from batteries to infrastructure charging, and anything that can support the implementation of electric mobility. I know there are also some companies that actually do create the car itself, which is electric. So definitely it is something that the Israeli ecosystem of automotive is looking at. The second topic, which was also mentioned, we see it's very relevant around the world, and we see the technologies here, is autonomous driving. So the ultimate stage is being at full automation, which is level number 5, that we just sit in the car and we don't have to touch anything. The car moves itself. And as was said before, it's really a computer on wheels. We cannot say yet we're there, but we do have technologies here in Israel, also many good companies that their purpose is to achieve that level, that level in a safe way. Because at the end, it's not just about sitting in the car and not doing anything, but being sure that I feel good about sitting there and that I trust the machine I'm sitting in. A third topic that I've mentioned, and it is a prominent topic and very relevant, I'm sure, to everyone, is the smart mobility, connected vehicles, and that can be in a car driving in the city or in a race car, because autonomous and electric, that's nice, but all the cars we have today are very advanced technologically, lots of sensors inside. There is a term called basically V2V, V2X. That's a vehicle talking to the other vehicle near him, or vehicle talking to the traffic light. If we take it to the level of smart mobility in cities, for example, traffic management and fleet management in between cities, that's a very relevant topic that saves a lot of headache to many of us who use transportation somehow. And the other topic that is less talked about, but it is also very important, is cybersecurity in vehicles. As we said, all the vehicles today are very advanced, lots of sensors and technologies and the infotainment radio systems. So we need to protect them, because especially in races, for example, we don't want to get to a situation that our car is being taken over or controlled by an outside hacker, for example. So we need to protect that. And these are the main topics that Israeli companies have something to offer, and we see it also in the Israeli ecosystem in general.
So Karin, thank you very much. Very, very interesting topics. And we all know that electrification in the automotive industry is happening, like it or not. But at the same time, Sebastian Vettel, the four-time Formula One world champion, just had demonstration runs in previous two Grand Prix, one in Silverstone and one in Le Castellet, France recently, with old cars, with a 92 Williams, the championship winning car of Nigel Mansell, the legendary British racing driver, and in Le Castellet, a 100 years of age Aston Martin. And the good thing is that both cars were on a sustainable e-biofuel. So maybe mankind will be able to produce a kind of fuel which is sustainable, which is safe to use, and which is has not no CO2 in it. So that's a very interesting topic, and this is the very an important milestone that maybe Formula One will change to sustainable fuels. If I'm right, the Rally World Championship, the WRC, are using sustainable fuel at the moment, and the plan is that the Formula One World Championship will switch to sustainable fuels in its new regulation cycles in 2026. Maybe they will bring it a bit forward, or we will see it sooner on the Grand Prix racing and on the Grand Prix tracks. Thank you, Karin Ken. And now I would like to ask the Hungarian Motorsport and Green Mobility Development Agency Director of Motorsports, Kornél Őri, as the Minister Palkovics mentioned, Kornél, you have this HUMDA Lab Limited. Could you tell us a few words about the running project? So what you are working on at the moment, if you can share with us some activities and projects at the HUMDA Lab Limited. Kornél.
Yes. Thank you very much, and welcome everyone. So just to get back in a few words to So what you've mentioned before, I think when we are talking about motorsports and when we are talking about what is the role of motorsports, in my opinion, it should be twofolded. So on one side, I think innovation and technology is very important, and it is mostly what we are talking about right now. And on the other hand, the entertainment part is also very important. So I think when we are talking about road relevant developments in motorsports, especially, we can see that now most of the world championships in the FIA and more in FIM as well are using different approaches to be more sustainable, and they introduce different methods, just as you've said. For example, in Formula 1 they use hybrid engines for quite some time now, and now they are planning to introduce the sustainable fuel as well. And in the Rally Championship, World Rally Championship, they introduced the new hybrid kits from this year with sustainable fuel as well. And in some championships, for example, Formula E, they use 100% electric engines, and also in some championships they're already talking about how can they include the hydrogen IC kits in the championship. So it is a very exciting time now within motorsports. And just to refer back to what Minister Palkovics said, this is mainly one of the objectives of HUMDA and HUMDA Lab in particular, to create an environment within Hungary and to try to develop more and more projects in the field of motorsport innovation. So first of all, one scientific research project that I think is very exciting within HUMDA Lab, it's connected to autonomous driving, as also Karin mentioned. It is a buzzword now, and more companies and startups are focusing on autonomous driving and how to develop it. And I think motorsport has a huge potential in it. For example, HUMDA Lab is working on a research project, and the main idea is that the autonomous vehicles would use the environment of race cars as a magnet for young talents. And the key is that self-driving on the tire grip limit is very valuable, because normally the grip limit edge cases are very rare on the roads, but it happens all the time when you're on the racetrack. So for example, if you can use this data somehow, even to just put this data in motion and somehow use this data to develop further the autonomous driving, I think that's a huge possibility. And another development which I think is very exciting, it's more connected to the entertainment side, but this is also a point where you can see how innovation can connect to the entertainment, and this is called the Driver 21 project. And in this project, the development of a smart transponder system is the key, and this transponder system would make it possible to create a real-time digital twin of a race car during a race. So it means that, for example, you are sitting at home in a simulator, and you are driving against those 20 drivers. That's why it's called Driver 21, who are actually competing in real life, and you are competing against them in real time. So you are just actually competing from your own simulator. So I think a lot of exciting and interesting projects are going ahead now within the HUMDA Lab framework as well.
Yeah, Cornel, thank you very much for sharing these things with us. It is very, very exciting, and no question I'm better than Lewis Hamilton on my coach in my living room. I mean, we all know that, but that would be fantastic to compete and race against the best Formula One drivers and race car drivers of the world. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts, and this is very exciting what the HUMDA Lab is doing recently. And now let's start with our second panel. We would like to introduce or give the opportunities to some Israeli companies to introduce themselves who are active on the technology field, even in the motorsport or automotive industry. When we are talking about engaging the fans, and Cornel just mentioned that this is very important. This is, ladies and gentlemen, a very important show business sector, the motorsport itself. I mean, Formula One is in its best shape for decades because they just generated a lot of new fans thanks to the Netflix series, thanks to other solutions. So there are new fans are coming in who just enthusiastic about car racing. And we have a company, and Ambassador also mentioned this company called Grip. And we all know that grip is very important in motorsport, as Cornel mentioned. The grip level can decide between victory and defeat. So there is a technology, a company called Grip, which is an Israeli-based tech company that develops market-leading storytelling tools for the motorsport industry. I just heard that they have a cooperation with the DTM, with the German Touring Car Championships, led by the ex-Formula One driver Gerhard Berger. And I just read recently that they tightened the connections with the Formula E as well, which is the electric single-seaters world championship. Just one note about this one, electrification in automotive industry and car racing. In 2023, the Generation 3 cars will come in the Formula E. And by today, 8 big manufacturers or big global companies, automotive manufacturers and automotive companies signed up for the next season. 8 companies. In the Formula One, we have 3 companies right now, 3.5, because if you take the Honda, which is partnering with Red Bull without its own branding from this year in the Formula One. So we have 3.5 big companies, automotive car manufacturers in the Formula One. And on the other hand, in the Formula E, there are 8 companies who signed up for the next season. With the Generation 3 cars. So back to the Grip company, I kindly ask and warmly welcome Tamir Placzynski, the CEO of the Grip. And I kindly ask you, Tamir, just to introduce your company and how do you imagine and what do you think about storytelling at its best in the car racing, because we all know storytelling is a very important tool, not only car racing, but in other areas as well. But how do you tell the stories in the motorsport? Tamir.
Hi, thank you, Zoltán, and hi, everybody. It's a real honor to be here with you all and talk about motorsport. Yeah, it's the best. So yeah, I'm Tamir, CEO and founder of Grip. We are, as you mentioned, a data-centric company developing actually the first cloud-based data platform for motorsport. So it's a dedicated platform specifically to racing. We collect data from the various sources in real time, both car telemetry and track system data, analyze that in real time and provide insights for the fans, for the drivers, for the teams, for the production, for every stakeholder in the industry. Motorsport, as we all know, it's the most advanced sport globally, tech-wise, but it's also one of the sports that use the least amount of data, not to improve the athletes, but more on to understand the sport. And that's understandable because for years the data was like a secret sauce that helped you win. but now it's the 21st century, and you need to figure out ways to make the sports more attractive to those young viewers that you want to attract to racing. You brought the example of Netflix and Drive to Survive in Formula 1, and I guess that once those fans will, those viewers will go to watch a real race, they will understand. They will be surprised about the less. It's not an exciting event. It's a very long one. Not a lot is going on between the peak events, and we need to find a way to make it more exciting for them throughout the event. So this is what we are doing in GRIP. We are inventing, let's say, the new statistical language for racing, and use that to explain the different events that goes on in real time, and yeah, changing the way you experience motorsport.
So that's just amazing. When the next Netflix Drive to Survive came out in the first season, and I watched the first episode with my wife, who's not interested in motorsport, and he just asked me after the first episode that why they can't do this on every race weekend and broadcast a race like this, because this is interesting even for me. I mean, storytelling is very important. Could you tell us a few words that what are your plans with the Formula E? Because I think there was a bit of descent of the Formula E in the previous, let's say, 2 or 3 seasons, but now they are on the upward trajectory. So, do you have any common plans with the FIA Formula E World Championship as well?
Formula E is of course, it's the first electric racing series, and they face not only the challenge of how you can tell the racing story to make it more interesting for those that are not experts, but they have a bigger challenge because their cars are slower, naturally, because the technology is not yet in the level that allows you to run very fast for a long time. And even more importantly, they are very quiet, so it's less exciting. And the strategy in Formula E is built around efficiency and use of power, and less on the tire strategy for Formula 1 or other series. And that's a different way to tell, like a different kind of story to tell. We build internally a very vast array of insights that can be deployed also in electric racing. I can say we are officially doing something with Formula E. The joining of Jamie, the Formula E CEO, to our board was a very great move that helps us a lot moving forward. And regarding, like, I can't disclose anything officially, but it's let's see where it goes. But yeah, I see a very bright future for Formula E for all the reasons: climate change, electrification, and all of that.
Tamir, all right, thank you very much. Talking about noise in the next few minutes, I mean, the noise of the race cars are very important, and I'm thinking a lot about this one. And the electric cars are about rationality. So I want to make or take a trip from point A to point B on the closest, easiest, most convenient, most silent way, the greenest way. But on the other hand, when I'm going to the racetrack, I want to hear the roar of the cars when they just starting the cars at the start of a Formula 1 Grand Prix is just amazing. And if you pull this out from this, I mean, it's not that spectacular. So this is very, very important. So we have a company working with noises, ladies and gentlemen. Let me introduce you, the founder and CEO of the Silentium, Amir Slapak. Amir, as far as I see, we have 2 Amirs here from your company. The right one is here. That's the first and most important question.
Yes, this is me. I don't know why twice.
Anyway, Amir, great to have you here, and thank you very much for joining us. So talking about sound, your company is able to eliminate some disturbing noises. And when we are talking about motorsport, we have to address a very real problem. For example, here at the Hungaroring, on the Hungarian racetrack, that the residents nearby the circuits disturbed sometimes, maybe on race weekends, by the noise of the race cars or bikes, even with the bikes, because they are very loud equipments. So do you have any solution, for example, for them who are living close to a racetrack to eliminate some disturbing noises?
Theoretically, we have the technology and we have the ability to do this. Physically, or let's say efficiently, it will be not so cost effective. So basically, we are focusing on the safety, well-being, and sustainability of the car users.
Okay, so let's talk about the big car manufacturers. As far as I know, there are sound engineers who are working for these big car companies to just set up the right amount of engine noise, etc., in the cockpit of the car. Yeah. If we make it too silent, I think it's dangerous as well, because you have to hear something from the outside world and the environment. If a bus is coming, you have to react as a driver.
Yes. Basically, all the alert, the smart algorithm knows to predict the noise that is going to be in the car and transmit the anti-noise, and in the same time to take the alerts or the alerts from the system, from the car, or from the important noise that comes from outside, and it's not reduced. So basically, it's not a problem.
Great to hear this one. So how can you eliminate, and what type of sounds or noises must be eliminated? So what the technology?
I will share with you a few slides, so it will be very clear. Okay, if it's possible. I will make it fast because I hope you see everybody. Because our connection to motor sport, it's just that I just came back from a Porsche travel. Just a moment, from a Porsche travel. I believe you see it. So basically, we are doing the automotive active acoustic for safety, well-being, and sustainability on the road. So here you can see, I will show you a short film that you will understand.
The finest automotive audio experiences. Acoustic laminated glass and next-generation active noise cancellation technology filters out unwanted noise, leaving you to focus on enjoying the journey. It can bring desirable engine sounds to the fore using a network of advanced audio technologies. Microphones inside each wheel arch detect structural and airborne noise, and digital processors calculate the sound required to cancel these unwanted frequencies from the cabin, using the interior speakers and headrest speakers for the 4 main seating positions. Much like a set of noise-cancelling headphones, you hear what you want to hear.
Yeah, this is it. Basically, we live in a world full of sound. There are noise that we want to hear and noise that we don't want to hear. So we have the quiet bubble inside the cabin in order to reduce the unwanted noise that we want to reduce. And we have the private sound bubble that to focus the sound that we want to enhance or to personalize. The solution basically will be like headphones, but without headphones. You can see that the environment, the changing in the mobility industry in a turning point because of the technology disruption, because of the society, because of the global challenge. We are going to connected autonomous and shared and electrified vehicles, and the weight is very important. And the need today is safety, well-being, and sustainability. this is what Silentium is focused in. You can see that our benefits, the system benefit, it's more safety to the driver and to the passenger, connectivity to the EVs. There will be no balance because there will be no engine, and there will be a lot of road noise from the tires and from other powertrain. So our system will give the solution. Also for personalization and FOD, feature on demand. Here you can see you can see the idea. The idea is not just to take the NVH from a mechanical aspect, to look on the NVH, noise, vibration, and harshness as a software. So we have a solution of active road noise cancellation. We have a solution of engine sound design, engine order cancellation, and basically we in the future we will provide all the other features as one package. And there's a cloud and subscription solution. Today you can see our solution in Range Rover Velar, in Jaguar F-Pace, Jaguar XF, Range Rover, and the new Range Rover Sport. And we have still a lot of models that on the way in PIP. And basically, this is about Silentium. The idea is to provide a personal, private, and health sound. We have the personal sound bubble and the personal quiet bubble.
Wow. This is very, very interesting. Thank you very much, Amir, presenting the Silentium. And this is just fantastic what you are doing with the sound and the noises around us. Thank you very much. And finally, let's talk about the vision. So we just touched the audio side of the whole things. Now let's talk about the vision. We have as a panelist here the Chief Marketing and the Chief Technology Officer of the Shamir Optical Industry Limited. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you, Mr. Bruno Decreton and Zohar Katzman. Hi there.
Hello. Hello, everyone.
Yes. Are you there? Yes.
Yeah. Can you hear
Great.
me? Yeah.
Oh, yes, we can hear you, and now I can see you.
Okay,
you have
great.
a very nice shirt. I mean, me as a motorsport enthusiast recognize a great Alpine team T-shirts. Do you any affiliation and connection to the Alpine team?
Right. Absolutely. We are actually one of the technical partners of the Alpine Formula One team.
Wow.
We are what we call the optical performance partner of the Formula One team of Alpine. And actually, we started this technical partnership last season, and starting from the fact that no one really takes care about vision in Formula One. And when you think about it, Formula One is probably the most advanced sport in terms of technology, but in the middle of those technologies and all those data, you have people, and those people have to interact with the computers, with the car, and so on. And our role as a technical partner is to provide the whole team with the best possible vision. So, and we really believe that vision contributes to the performance of the whole team. That's our approach.
So it's not because Fernando Alonso getting older and older and his vision is not that good anymore. I mean, he's a very important driver in the Formula One because his first victory came on the Hungarian here in our racetrack back in 2003. Okay, so this is very interesting, working with a Formula One team, and what you can learn actually from a high performing competitive organization, which is Formula One. They are fighting for every millisecond, and they have to find this kind of milliseconds. As a technology company, what can you learn from an F1 organization?
So Shamir as a company is actually supplying ophthalmic lenses to opticians around the world. So our initial mission is to help all the eye care professionals around the world to improve people's vision. What do we learn from Formula One is that there is an optimized solution for every situation. Like, for example, we are testing the vision of the Formula One team, of course, the race team, the guys in the pit, to make sure that they have the best vision possible. But also we are checking the visions of the technicians and the engineers in the factories, working on the engine, working on the chassis of the car, and providing them with the best possible solution. And it's a very different solution if you are working on a computer, designing the car, or if you are an engineer, a race engineer in the pit and checking out all those data on the screen in real time, and you have to react very fast. So for us, on one hand, we are helping the team to be as efficient as possible thanks to perfect vision. And on the other side, we are learning on how to design and to build the best optical solution for everyday driver and at the end, everyday activities. So it's a very important, it's like a laboratory for us. We are learning from Formula One, and this is helping us to design better products for every day.
Wow, that's breathtaking. That's amazing. Just one question to Zohar Katzman, the Chief Technology Officer of the Shamir Optical Industry Limited. What are the latest technologies used in that area, in the market of single vision lenses or modes, Zohar?
So Zohar actually left the meeting because he lost the connection. So I will take this one if it's okay for you.
Of course. But,
the latest technology that we introduced in order to improve lenses is totally changing the way we are producing lenses. Usually when you produce a lens, you are cutting the lens to get the right design and prescription, the right optical performance. And at the end, you apply on this lens different layers of coatings, like nanometric layers of coatings, in order to provide anti-scratch properties, anti-reflection properties, and things like that. What we are doing now is that instead of adding nano layers on the lens, we are fusing a film like the one you are having on your smartphones, for example. And this film comes with all the added value on it, like anti-reflective coating, anti-scratch, and so on. And the benefit is that thanks to this film, we are making the lens much more impact resistance. Those lenses are up to 18 times more impact resistant than standard lenses. And at the same time, they are up to 40% thinner and lighter. And this is the kind of technologies we are developing, and which at the end comes to the lenses of everyone, and improving the quality of vision and improving the comfort you get with your everyday lenses.
As far as I know, nowadays in the Formula One, no driver uses glasses. But earlier on, I remember Sébastien Bourdais, your fellow Frenchman, used glasses when he was in the car.
Right. So very few drivers, and actually no Formula One driver today is using glasses. Yeah. They might use contact lenses, but they are all using visors on their helmets. And the visor is, of course, a very important component for the safety, because it has to be impact resistant. But at the same time, it's very important because all the visual information goes through the visor. So the best optical quality you get on the visor, the shortest reaction time you will get as a driver. So we are working on improving the quality of optics through the visor in order to help the driver to be as fast as possible, thanks to more accurate visual information.
Bruno, just one more question. I'm thinking about the Le Mans 24 Hours and the World Endurance Championships. They are driving even nighttime or from dusk till dawn, to mention a great movie. So is it important to have special lenses, for example, in Le Mans racing?
Yeah, you're very right. I mean, the light conditions are totally different over the 24 hours. You might have the rising sun in front of you in some corners. You might have full sun during the day, so very high luminosity, or you might have the dawn at the end of the day or the night. And those are very specific conditions, and the property of the lenses have to be different. And we are learning a lot from those conditions in order to improve vision of drivers, but everyday drivers, not only professional drivers, because those conditions are very different. And for example, at night, your vision is very different than during the day. Many drivers are complaining about their vision at night, even if they feel comfortable during the day. And this requires specific solutions.
Yeah, a few years ago, I used the yellow lenses when I was driving night.
Right. It's
night
a good start, but could be better.
Bruno, thank you very much for sharing this very interesting topics with us. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of the program. Thank you to Bruno de Creton, the Chief Marketing Officer of the Shamir Optical Industry Limited. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce you to racing drivers, or one racing driver and a rider, actually a MotoGP world champion from Hungary from 2007. Gábor Tolmácsi is here with us, and as well, the Formula 2 driver from Israel, Roy Nissany. Roy, can we start with you, if you can hear us?
Of course. Hi, everyone. Great to be here.
Roy, thank you very much for jumping in, and congratulations for your point scoring finish in Le Castelli recently. You started on the 20th, from the 20th position, and you finished in P9. Well done.
Thank you. You know, Zoli, always there is a big question. What is better for a race driver, to start last and come to the front, or to start first and win the race? You know, so one is more successful, guaranteed, but the other one is way more fun. So I definitely enjoyed it last Sunday.
That's right. And you are a very important person here, Roy, I have to tell you, because you started your racing career, and as the ambassador mentioned in his welcoming words, here in Hungary, and your dad is a multiple Hungarian champion in Formula racing category. And we know each other personally. So it's great to have you here on the meeting, or in this meeting. So Roy, just very briefly, what is your relation as a racing driver to the innovation? So if you have a good idea, or your engineer has a good idea, could you find that crucial milliseconds on a lap on the Hungarian, for example?
Well, it's very interesting. You know, many times I had a couple of ideas popping up my mind, and I went up to the Williams third floor in Grove, to the design department, and, you know, threw my ideas in the air. And sometimes it is applicability, and sometimes not. And there are, let's say, endless possibilities on one hand, but on the other hand, we have to make sure that we adhere to certain regulations, either if it's sporting regulations or safety regulations that are very strict, of course. And this is basically dictating what the technology can be, or this is the main limiting factor of how much technology we can implement into a certain category. Yeah. So I think I've seen a lot of amazing startups coming and rising and entering Formula One. And many of them are in the area of support or IT or analyzing and so on. So there, the sky is the limit. But from my experience, if someone can bring to the table an advantage of lap time within regulations, it's priceless.
Yeah, that's very true, Roy. Talking about safety regulations, we have to say that one safety tool called the Halo just saved your life a few weeks ago in Silverstone, where you had a huge shunt with your fellow driver.
Yes, so going to safety, the Halo is definitely an important one, and we saw a lot of criticism around it at the beginning. 2018 it was when it was presented. So yeah, happy to have it, because otherwise I wouldn't have been here probably. And just understanding the way it works, it's a titanium piece, identical for everyone, with some aero adjustments, especially for the F1 teams, that is making the car much safer. And yeah, well, safety technologies is, again, priceless. We always want to see more and better.
Yeah, that's right, and great to have a chat with you here about this crash in Silverstone. You are working and acting as a test driver and development driver for the Williams Formula One team, which is one of the oldest and most prestigious teams in the Formula One's history. What is your daily job as a test driver? So we have very sophisticated simulators in the Formula One. Are you using the simulator of the Williams Formula One team?
Yes, and quite often. The simulator is used daily, either by me or other drivers, to try and develop and test different kind of setups, parts. Obviously, it's not just Williams, every team does it. And it's one of the greatest tools we can have to try and measure, understand what happens with every new evolution part, and it works. I mean, it's amazing how similar the car can be in terms of behavior inside a corner from a simulator, being in a basement in the UK when it's raining outside, and I'm just in front of a screen, and a week later I'm in the car in sunny Barcelona and going into the corner, and the car behaves the same. And a tweak in the anti-roll bar will make the exact change from the simulator to reality. And this is a tool that is so important for the F1 engineers to have, obviously.
Roy, I will come back to you soon, but let me ask our other guest from the racing world, Gábor Tolmácsi, the MotoGP world champion from 2007, who is a Hungarian resident. Gábor, let's take two wheels away and let's talk about riding a bike. I mean, I'm a huge fan of MotoGP, and they are doing crazy things. How technology is developing in the MotoGP or in the bike racing industry, Gábor?
Very welcome, everyone. I'm very happy to stay with you. I would like to pick three topics regarding the technological innovation in motorcycle sport. The first is the safety, which is Roy explained in the car racing, but I would like to explain something regarding the safety in the motorsport in the two wheels. The first is the airbags. For several years, MotoGP and Superbike and this year an increasing number of smaller championships are requiring to use the airbag. So it's to increase the rider safety. It helps a lot in case of slips, falls, and in case of high side accidents. It has an important role in protecting the neck, the collarbone, the shoulder, of course. And the most important things, of course, the racetracks for the two wheels sports. I mean, road racing, motorcycle is so important, the runoff area. So I would like to give you an example. Car racing, they can compete in between the walls, like city racing or something like that. But in motorcycle racing, we need a safe racetrack, which has a big runoff area and good safety area. So this is the key points. And day by day, of course, the innovation is higher and higher. And I explained the airbags topic, but of course, the most important, the safety racetracks.
So,
and
just one question about the safety of the racetrack, Gábor. So is it that's why we do not have too many racetracks when the two series, the MotoGP and the Formula One, are running a race? So there are 3 or 4 in the whole calendar, in the 20+ calendar of both series.
Yes, it's true. Basically, 3 or 4 tracks which allow to organize MotoGP and Formula One. Because FIM and FAI, they go, of course, a different way. The rules are different. And just imagine if you crash with motorcycle and the safety area is asphalt, especially on the wet. If you lose the front, you can easily touch the wall, even if the wall it's 50 meter or 100 meter far away from the racing line. But if you have a good gravel area, you can slow down. The airbag will protect you. And of course, the racing suit is now the protection is a really high level protection. So just different sport, and I have to say different rules. Yeah. But of course, we have to following the rules because the safety is very important.
Okay, so just one question about the electrification, Gabor. We all see that it's happening in the mobility world. What about the MotoGP? Do you have an electric category?
Of course, we call Moto E. It's under the MotoGP series. It's a World Cup, basically. Started 2019, and it's really exciting. But at the moment, of course, they are struggling with the bike weight because the normal bike weight, it's around 160 or 70 kilo in the biggest class in MotoGP. But at the moment, the Moto E bikes are 100 kilo more, which in two wheels makes a little bit difficult. And of course, the races are a little bit shorter, like not like 25 laps, but like 5, 6, 7, 8 laps. They, of course, year by year, they improve the technology, and we believe that it will be longer races in the future. But of course, it starts 2019, and the championship is very, very exciting.
Gabor, are you a fan as well, a MotoGP racing fan as well, enthusiast fan?
Of course, I following a lot of races, and I do a lot for the young riders, especially inside the HUMDA, the agency, motorsport agency. We created now the academy, so we are really supported the Hungarian young riders and drivers, which is very important for Hungary.
And as far as I know, you are involved in Sport Tech Hungary, and the fan engagement is very important for this initiative as well.
Yes, I'm a sport ambassador in the Sport Tech Hungary program. Was established to prepare the Hungarian sport technology invitation for the international market and to ensure the uniform and effective appearance and promotion of their validation. Through this program, we support the establishment of domestic technological developments, innovations, as well, and the international partner networks represented by the Hungarian sports and athletes. And it's exciting to see that beside the technical development in motorsports, there are more innovations and activations focusing on bringing the drivers and the fans together to offer a more enjoyable experience. And besides fans having access to telemetry and lap time data now, they can support their favorite drivers through a fan engagement platform. So one of these company we call Sujó. It's a startup company, and they are everywhere in the world. And I represent them as a motorsport expert, and I give them all the important, relevant information in motorsports. So yes, entertaining the fans is very important in motorsport. So I'm very proud that I can support the Hungarian innovations and startup companies.
Gabor, Tamir is still with us here from Grip, so I recommend to have a chat, a private chat with him, because I think there are some common things between what you are doing and the Grip company represented the CEO by the CEO Tamir Pachinski here in our webinar. So I think you can have a discussion about this one. Back to you, Roy. But just before I ask Roy about how does it feel to to live the dream of a racing driver, I would like to announce and let you know to all viewers that you will have the opportunity to ask some questions. So please, if you have any questions to our panelists, just type in the chat field, and I will ask them from our panelists. Thank you very much. So, Roy, how does it feel to live the dream as a racing driver, traveling all around the world with good cars, racing on the weekends? I mean, that was fantastic, but I can imagine that you are working a lot.
A lot, yes. And I know it sounds very glory, very shiny, but it's a lot of hard work, of course. Athlete's life is very full of hustle, training every day, and so on. But I love it not just because I'm a car lover and then a driving lover and an adrenaline junkie, but also I am very enthusiastic from the technology, from if we are in this subject today and seeing, just understanding what is inside a Formula One car, understanding the systems around it, the technology of downforce, the engineering behind. It's a miracle. It's like a miracle. This thing can take and can suck so much air off the ground, can hold itself so fast around the corner. If you, I guess most of us here have been to at least one Grand Prix and saw a Formula One car driving a fast corner, just watching it from the outside, and you see a vehicle driving so quick on an asphalt that it just looks like a kind of a roller coaster, but in fact not on rails. It's just spectacular, and thinking about all the engineering force behind it, I just love it. And I think for technology in general, motorsport is kind of a peak performance environment for technology to express itself, because obviously we cannot test peak technology on a normal road usually, so it would transfer into a motorsport kind of activity. I'm also involved in a new circuit in Hungary called the Balaton Park circuit, which is expected to open mid the next year, and it will be a very technology involved track with a lot of systems around it to help the cars and the engineers, and also a great stage for tech companies to test their products. So a part of loving what I do and being focused 25 hours a day in driving, I'm also kind of a little tech enthusiast.
I just love to listen to you and hear your words. I mean, you can feel the passion on your words. How can you use motorsport to promote, for example, the STEM? You know, the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So we are not talking about that we try to find the new drivers or riders in case of motorbike racing, but we trying to find the new engineers, which is a beautiful thing to work on this level of engineering, or aerodynamics, or car electronics, etc. So can we use the motorsport to find the young and the new generation of engineers as well?
Absolutely. And there is always a need for engineers, and there's always room. And I think an engineer that is going into Formula One, whether he's a motorsport enthusiast or not, he will find himself and he will fulfill his purpose, because you have all the tools you need and you have the stage to thrive. And it's just making wonders in the engineering world, F1. It absolutely is. And just going around, visiting the box and going behind the scenes, seeing an unattached floor of Formula One, just watching the piece is it's like a big dining table. It's basically the size of the car, and you just see it flat and see all the little sensors on it, and understanding that this little piece is creating so much downforce and pulling the car down. Watching a tire, how powerful a tire is. And by the way, it's another beautiful niche for technologists to try and understand the tires deeper and deeper, because this is an area that the teams are always happy to get more and more insight of. So as we say, there are endless possibilities.
Yeah, and keep the tires working and find the best grip. I think that's an amazing thing, and that's the key of success in motorsport. Back to you, Gabor. if we are talking about safety and communication to the riders, maybe it's a bit more difficult compared to the Formula One or car racing, because in the cars, of course, you have the radio communication, at least with your team, and you can send some messages from the race control to the dashboard of the car. What about in the MotoGP or motor racing or other categories of motor racing, with the communication of the race control to the riders?
Yes, this is another development which is in the past years. Recently in MotoGP, race control has been able to send messages directly to the rider dashboard. For example, about penalties or such as ride-through or long lap penalties, track limits, warning flags, or in MotoGP class, the flag-to-flag races when rider can switch the motorcycle. So it's an important innovation. It's replaced the messaging on the pit board, on the pit wall, and makes it clear, visible to the riders, because they can see the race control messages on the dashboard, which is very important, because when you are focusing, we have shorter race like car racing. So like compare MotoGP and Formula One. Formula One do like double distance. So riders need relevant information. And this is a kind of innovation which is very helpful.
Yeah, this kind of communication from the race control is very important, Roy, as we saw it in Le Castellet during the French Grand Prix in the Formula One. It cost one position for Sergio Perez when there was some misunderstanding or a late message on the boards, the virtual safety car ending, and George Russell was sharp enough to overtake in the final phase of the race Sergio Perez.
Yeah. I mean, radio communication with your engineer is everything. If you think about it, I mean, this is a car race and not a driver race. So it means that the driver has obviously a very big role, but at the end, he's driving the car, which is racing. And the only connection that you have with what's going on in the outside is your engineer in your ear. You don't want him to speak too much. You don't want him to speak. You want him to speak enough and give you the right information in the right time. And I think just understanding this type of communication, there are a lot of possibilities to make it more efficient. But this is up to our tech geniuses. I'm just the driver, as they say.
I mean, a very important element in the jigsaw of motorsport and car racing. Roy, what do you think about the newest regulations or the direction of the newest regulations announced recently by the FIA, the Federation of Automobile Clubs of the World, who is responsible for the Formula One? So there was a line that they would like to highlight and use the car-to-car communication on the racetracks. So do you think that using the car-to-car communication, we are able to avoid, let's say, nasty or even fatal accidents on the race tracks?
It's a big debate, because at the end we are humans, and when I put each one of us in a very heated situation, which is a race and inside a battle trying to overtake, I'm not sure the best of each person will come out, because it's a very stressful situation. We hear the drivers, they can be angry, and even myself, sometimes I hear myself talking in the radio and I say, okay, it's not the usual calm Roy that I know, and sometimes things can get more heated. I would say direct communication of actual speaking to another driver could be too much, but perhaps an alerting kind of system by beeps or other sounds would be more efficient and more correct and precise, let's say.
Yeah, the wording was very interesting, because they are not talking about driver-to-driver communication, but car-to-car communication. So I can imagine that there is a system in the car when a driver makes a mistake, then it can avoid a kind of crash or accident. I don't know what's the direction.
Yeah, of course. Then I mean, is it strictly car to car? Because then there could be, you know, some misjudgments, or is it a driver that presses a button? Is also another interesting debate, and that could have prevented many things. But on the other hand, it could be used strategically. So this has to be addressed in the regulations to try and avoid this if we want to. But yeah, certainly sometimes there is a situation that is basically unsolved, and the regulations keep changing about two cars are going into a corner. Who is entitled for the position? Is it the attacker if he's more than half a car? So now the regulation has changed that he has to be more in front. It used to be just the tip of the car. And it's hard to say. And every situation has to be addressed individually. But at the end, it's fraction of a second kind of decision that we have to make. So this has to be well understood in our mind as drivers. And the technology has to be there to analyze, or at least to try and prevent. It's a big debate to be discussed with the FIA, with the drivers, with the team bosses.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's not clear, even for the drivers. I mean, we can read about this type of debates or opinions after almost every Grand Prix in the Formula One. And maybe technology can help us to police this kind of things and decide what's what's right and what's not right on the racetrack. And maybe it's easier for the fans to understand a certain situation.
Yeah, police or prevent. And then there's also what we discussed before, Zoltán, the track limits issue, which we saw in the Austrian Grand Prix. That I'm telling you, from inside driving, and you want to be focused on your driving. And what you have in mind right now is that you've already got 2 warnings for track limits for being 2 centimeters over the white line, basically an unjudgeable amount of this distance from the cockpit in these speeds. So turn 9, the penultimate corner in Red Bull Ring, in Formula 2, we go at, I would say, around 180 kilometers per hour, maybe even closer to 200. And judging centimeters is really not the kind of thing you want to do in these kind of circumstances. So if the track layout is so that it requires the car to go out to be faster, one, maybe so be it, or we have to adjust the track layout to be a bit more curved, or to have gravel or other slowing kind of tools for the cars not to be faster when they go out of line, or any other technology that people may think of, but certainly not to make the drivers so concerned about it and to hand out tens of penalties throughout the race.
We could talk about this for hours, I think, Roy, because I mean, that's a very hot topic nowadays and these days in car racing, in Formula 1 or even in Formula 2, about the sausage curves, different types of curves, etc. But I'm afraid we have to finish right now. Just one more question, one final question to you, Roy. We are discussing and organizing this Zoom meeting on the week of the Hungarian race weekend. How do you prepare for Budapest? I think you know this circuit, all the 14 turns inside out here.
Absolutely. It's my home track and the place I've driven first in a race car. I love it. I know it very well. I'm well prepared from the simulator and well prepared physically, because we're not going to have a lot of break. There are no straight, not too long straights to rest on. It's going to be physical, hot, maybe a bit rainy, because I saw the weather could be interesting as well. But definitely an interesting weekend. So mentally, physically, and skill-wise, prepared.
Gabor, any advice to Roy as a rider?
Advice is difficult because, okay, I did some car race, of course. I have a bit knowledge. I just like to say good luck and enjoy the weekend.
All right. So thank you very much for all the participants. Thank you, Gabor Talmácsi and Roy Nissany, for being here with us and taking part on this Zoom meeting or webinar. And thank you very much for all your panelists. It was amazing to hear your technology companies, your activities, etc. And we wish you all the best in the future. And thank you very much for the organizers for bringing this together. The Startup Campus, the HUMDA, the Hungarian Motorsport and Green Mobility Development Agency, the embassy of the State of Israel, and the Israel Export Institute. Thank you very much for all of you. Take care and see you soon. Bye-bye.